The following video is sponsored by thehangingbook.com that, as you can see by this video, in his original version in Catalan, presents the innovative format of being served in a holder suitcase, in a kind of frame holder, in which you can introduce the book on the side, on the page of the picture, that there are like 12 to 20 pictures, and so a part of being a book to be read. So also it's a decorative object or a decorative frame, picture frame, multi-picture frame for your home, for your room, or for the office. And well, so now we go with with the, yes, we were saying in this period here in Catalonia was not really much developed. What it was already showing his reclaiming his ground in the most advanced parts of Europe as the first rationalist buildings like Le Corbusier or Mies van der Rohe, also more aesthetically wanted to show something new or something kind of baroque or striking for the eye as the expressionism or even the art deco. Here only the buildings from the Germans, from Mies van der Rohe, one is still surviving, or better said rebuilt in the 80s, and the magic fountains to some degree, and some kind of lining from behind the National Museum of Catalonia. That was really the only touch of modernity in this 29 exhibition, while the most of the buildings they were showing this anchorage into the most prestigious classical aesthetic, though it was somehow filtered by by modernity, as we have seen in this palace from Josep Goudai, and as also we can see now into this building. So at first sight, we would say, well, from a building from 24, 28 to make this fake ashlars, all the base is really just like a concrete belt or base, but it was given this relief with this grooving as they would be real ashlars, as the palaces of the Renaissance, the Baroque. Then the rest of the wall it was made in this graffiato, this technique of covering all the wall with a first layer of, let's say, blue fine mortar, and then a second layer of yellow, this light yellow color, and then it was scratching. So you make this kind of drawing, though it's not really drawing because it's made of two levels. But actually, the drawing or this sgraffiato it shows a Solomonic column, these twisted snail or spiral movement columns, like the famous from Bernini in in St. Peter of Rome. Also at the bottom and on the top there are these garlands and these pots of fruits, all motifs from the Baroque, especially the Baroque, the Solomonic column, but it's fake. As you can see, it's not. It's a kind of trumpet oil. Yeah, literally a trap for the eye, a visual illusion that obviously from close one can see it's not real, but actually that was the will of the commissioner to make something practical. There's a lot of room inside. Actually, these pavilions called after the kings of the times, Maria Eugenia and Alfonso the 13th. the last ones of the first restoration because in the 1860s, 68, it was declared the republic. Actually came a king from another dynasty in this will of the progressist forces of Catalonia in Spain, more in Catalonia because in Spain the most powerful political thinking always was quite reactionary and more monarchic, but especially in Catalonia, always the dominant forces that were a part of being nationalist, Catalan nationalists or pro-independence, or at least pro-autonomies or regionalists. It was quite strong, the Republican and even the revolutionary movements, and finally, they got rid of the dynasty that was reigning since 1714, the Bourbon that came from France. But actually, later they came after some some years, like just a few years, 10 years. The Bourbon came back, so it's called the Restoration. But in 36, when it was no, in 23, it was a dictatorship, and actually, well, it was a coup d'etat, a punch that it was made by a military, very reactionary, conservative, anti-Catalan military called Primo de Rivera, and the king baked this military, obviously anti-democratic punch that closed the parliament and banned many political parties, obviously all the Catalan parties, the Basque parties, the anarchist movement, trade unions, etc. And finally, when this dictator fell, with him also fell this king. The king that in the 20s he was at the height of his power, and actually he inaugurated all these 29 International Exhibition, and one of the pavilion was after him and the other after the wife. And actually, after this Second Republic, then it was another coup d'etat, another punch that was followed by a very bloody civil war, and actually was won by the fascists, and it was 40 years. And when Franco died, it was a second restoration. When came again this dynasty, the Bourbon, and actually now they are by the second king of this second restoration. After Juan Carlos I, now is Philip the Sixth or Felipe VI. So yeah, we were commenting that still they were anchored in this will to show classical look. Also look at the corner, top left corner, flanked by these pilasters of Ionic order. Then as a kind of oculus or bay window, in the middle of this bay window there is a bust of a Roman. But at the same time, it has this striking modernity of being like a massive cube with no openings. While it would be really neo-baroque, for example, more old-fashioned, bringing forward nothing modern. So there will be some real openings. And well, it was the work of Puig that is more known by his modernism buildings from this Catalan Art Nouveau so famous, especially Casa de las Punches, for example, or also he has quite a famous building next to another famous building of Gaudí, Casa Batlló, that is called Casa Ametller. And there, at the height of his career, he was developing this more architecture with many applied art, ceramic, stained glass, and the sculpture, not that serious, and not so many Roman, Greek elements, but more medieval. But actually, as happened with many other architects, by these 20s, the people didn't like anymore, or the commissioners didn't want any more curvy surfaces undulated snake movement cornices and wanted again some kind of order, as you can see all over this building. By the way, also you can see the cornice is made by this succession of architrav, so just above the capitals, whether real as the left ones or the fake sgraffiato ones in the corner Ionic with the scroll, while the other they have this acanthus leaf. So you can see this flat um, surface split in three levels, as it was typical in the Ionic order. And then above you had a flat strip, a wider flat strip decorated. That would be the so-called frieze. And above would be the cornice, also at different levels, and as they go higher, so coming out more. And in between these etendards and this relief made of small cubes, the denticulus or the dentil, that these are this decoration of the cornices typical from the Ionic order. And in the corner also you can see this little template to break with this monotonous look of the building, especially in the corners to signify the corners. But here also having this look at the entrance into these huge pavilions, and they are a lot of 1,000 square meters, also because they have different floors, a part of the amplitude and largeness of them. So from the outside, I wanted to give this presence of nobility and proper look, as they would say probably in the times. But in the inside, what they were not brave enough of a country was not progressist enough to show beams, to show decorated surfaces in the insides, as it was more to show the machines. So there is no trace at all of any classical look. And a part of the beams, the steel beams, you can see these foldings in between the beams, that they are this very lowered arch. That is the Catalan bolt. The Catalan bolt, it was a way to cover the spaces from above, to make the vaulting since the 16th century. It's all a technique from all the Catalan countries, and even in Occitania, probably the south of Italy, but for probably because it was originated in the Principality, it's called the Catalan bolt. But as I said, this also can be seen in Valencia, in the Strip of Aragon, in Mallorca, and consists in making three layers of flat brick. Instead of putting them like vertical, working by compression, so they put on a first wooden structure that it was placed. So slowly, slowly they were putting these flat bricks, and then they covered it all by mortar, and then it came another another layer of flat bricks, again mortar, and normally it was a third layer. So instead of being fragmented by these small flat bricks, it all works like a unity and has the virtue and part of the cheapness of it, because flat brick it was something relatively cheap and cheap. It had the virtue of the flexibility, because if you put, a big beam, so or a big stone, better said, it's all flat, unless you cut it, with some curviness. But as the bricks is like a palm, so if you put every brick moving it some degrees, you could easily make these curvy or warped surfaces. In this case, a veiled bolt. And a part has the virtue, something that also was discovered in the cities like Chicago, New York, where this technique was exported by a Catalan called Guastavino, that actually he made a patent of this technique to make a bolt. It was fireproof. If you had a charpentier, a system of timber in between the ceiling and the roof, so obviously the timber can burn. But these types of roof with brick, they were resisting the fire. That's why this very old technique, since the Middle Ages probably, it was still in use until the 30s or even the 40s, where finally the empire of the concrete and the beams without this old technique. So this system also was used for the big palace that closes the grand perspective of, of this exhibition of 29. Big palace and nowadays is the Catalan Museum of Art. And actually one of these pavilions, and probably in a few years, both of them, they will also be part of the so-called MANAC, Museu Nacional d'Art de Catalunya, National Catalan Art Museum, and especially here they will place the pieces of this movement that was as a kind of golden age of the arts in Catalonia called Modernisme. So Gaudí, the Church of Gaudí, many many furniture from, for example, Joan Busquets, one of the best furniture makers of the time that was working with mahogany, these caobas, these ebanus, these these noble boots, all great works of stained glass, paintings by, for example, a very young Picasso. And let us remember that this period that gave so many fruits in Catalonia, and especially in Barcelona, his capital, and gave this touch of something different that normally you cannot see in such abundance in the rest of the world. This style came to an end, and afterwards was the moment of for the so-called noucentisme. That within this period, as we are seeing in this chapter today, there were quite many different proposals. So we began this video with a proposal by Josep Godai. There was a kind of fusion of rationalist flat surfaces with this touch of Quattrocento, Italian Quattrocento. Then we saw this very easy cubic architecture with no openings, but with this work of sgraffiato. And here, this third building, that would be another of the trends that they were developing this time. And well, so we finished this chapter like some others, the ones in English, with these blogs where you can learn more about the history of Catalonia and Barcelona, blogs written in English.